everyone, and welcome back to another round of Tuesday Night Legacy. Tonight we have our first community picks video. We have Blue-Red Delver versus Blue-Black Doomsday. On the left, we have Alan sporting the Blue-Red Delver list. Now, we've seen Alan on the channel before. We actually saw him just a couple videos ago. He is on the same Blue-Red Delver list he was before, and we should all be familiar with his strategy, but I'll go through it anyways for those new to the channel. Blue-Red Delver is a classic tempo strategy in which you are trying to keep your opponent on the back foot as your little guys come in and secure you the victory. So Delver of Secrets turning into Insectile Apparition, attacking for 3 in the air every turn. The Dragon's Rage Channeler, getting you all sorts of advantage from that Surveil trigger every time that you cast a non-creature spell, turning into a 3/3 once you have 4 different card types in your graveyard. And of course, the big whammy, the Murktide Regent, being able to cast this enormous boy for 2 mana once you have filled up your graveyard with all of your Ponders and Brainstorming and Lightning Bolts, and just general control in the form of Force of Will and Daze. Overall, this is one of the most popular decks in Legacy, and for good reason, as it has a pretty good win-to-loss ratio. Enough of spouting about one of the most popular decks in the format, let's talk about Doomsday. So on the other side of the board, we have the combo deck Doomsday. Doomsday is an all-in strategy, at least this version is, on the sorcery Doomsday. Getting to choose 5 cards in your deck and turn that into your library. Everything else is exiled besides your hand, and you try to win the game with those 5 cards. Typically, this is done by drawing those 5 cards and then playing Thassa's Oracle, hopefully uncounterable, and with a counterspell in your hand as a backup, just in case they have something that, oh, maybe exiles things from the stack. There are many ways to do this. Most of them include using Street Wraiths or Ideas Unbound to draw the rest of those cards, leaving you with just enough mana to cast the Thassa's Oracle. Then the only other thing in the deck really is the protection of your combo, which is in the form of Force of Will, Pact of Negation, Force of Negation, Daze, and where is it? Some Thoughtseizes to try and proactively make sure your opponent can't stop your combo. So enough about the decks, let's see how this all plays out. 2 blue decks playing against each other. What could go wrong? We see a bottom from Dylan starting on 6 mana, 6 cards, into a Bloodstained Mire, finding that Underground Sea. And probably going to start out, I would guess, with a cantrip here. Yep, we're going to see a Ponder. Get to draw those, well, look at those 3 cards. Dylan decides he doesn't like any of them, decides to shuffle it up. Draw a fresh card off the top. Doomsday, one of those decks, since it is a combo deck, pretty much all of the action happens on the same turn. Before we get to that point, it's usually just a lot of card draw, or maybe a little bit of denial. Alan with the Dragon's Rage Channeler pass probably has a Daze up in hand. Seeing a Dark Ritual, this is Dylan probably going for the Doomsday here. That fast mana getting him the 3 black that he needs. Went ahead and edited the video so that we cut out all of the finding of the 5 cards here. Dylan's still kind of deciding what these 5 cards are going to be. Exiles the rest and presents them to Alan. Since this is public information, all of these cards are exiled face up. Alan gets to thumb through the deck. Alan, being a well-versed player in Legacy, knows exactly what he's looking for here. Pretty familiar with the Doomsday list. Can kind of put together what the pile is and what might be in Dylan's hand. Seeing how many counterspells there are, seeing what he has to kind of fight through. We're seeing that Ponder from Alan, getting that Dragon's Rage Channeler Surveil trigger. Decides to bin it. Getting rid of the Mishra's Bauble. Not really going to help him right now, since Alan is actively trying to stop the combo. Has to kind of look through the pile again, just to make sure. If I were playing against Doomsday, I'd probably be counting the counter spells. Make sure there's 4 Force of Wills in there, some number of Dazes. Alan pretty happy with what he draws. Gets that Wasteland, takes out the mana. That's a very good idea, as Dylan is probably really stuck. You have only certain lines of play once you have committed to your Doomsday pile, so pressuring that mana is going to be huge for Alan here. And we actually see a force of will for that ponder. Alan trying to make sure that none of the spells are going to resolve on what Dylan is doing here. Crashing in for another 3, I think. Now, something I forgot to mention is Doomsday does have to pay half their life total in order to resolve the spell. Another Wasteland taking out the other underground sea. Dylan in a lot of trouble here. Basically, he needs land in his hand because that pile doesn't have any lands in it, pretty sure, besides maybe a Cavern of Souls. And Dylan scoops it up. We're going into game 2. Lotus Petal, seeing a Thoughtseize right out of the gate here. Says, we're not playing around now. What's in that hand, Alan? Alan really thinking this one over in the tank, deciding if he wants to show or if he just wants to lose that Force of Will probably out of his hand. He might have more denial, though. Okay, so there's a Force of Negation, wasn't a Force of Will. And a Delver and a Brainstorm. One other card. Dylan going straight for it. Wow. So, makes the pile, has no cards in hand. We take a look at all of the cards here. Dylan completely hellbent, hoping that Alan just isn't going to draw into any action. Although I think that is a, not a snuff out. That is a counterspell of some kind. I can't remember what it's called. Usually seen in a different deck. In the Death Shadow deck. We see Dylan with the Consider binning a Deep Analysis into Lion's Eye Diamond. So Lion's Eye Diamond would be able to get him the mana to play Deep Analysis. He draws into the Force of Will, naturally, getting rid of that Lion's Eye Diamond. He didn't even cast the Brainstorm. Force was just on top of the deck. Seeing blue mana paid for a Brainstorm. Drawing into the Wasteland. That's probably going to be it. He plays the Wasteland. Gets rid of that Underground Sea. Dylan doesn't have anything else because the last 2 cards are Thassa's Oracle and Cavern of Souls, and that's going to do it. Alan takes it 2-0. Well, as we can see, even in both games, Doomsday was able to resolve, but even with that being the case, Alan was able to manipulate the game in such a way that he was still able to keep Dylan from actually resolving that Thassa's Oracle, getting him the win 2-0. Very impressive. Thanks for watching to the end of the video. If you like this content and it's your first time here, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel so you can always stay up to date on our stuff. Thanks as always to Spellhold Games for allowing us to record in their play space. We honestly wouldn't exist without you. If you want to know what's in these decks, the deck lists are always in the description of the video. And if you just want to see a picture of the deck list, you can check out our Instagram where we are putting up high resolution pictures of each deck that goes on the channel the day they release. And if you aren't doing anything this coming Tuesday night around 7:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, why don't you check out our live commentary that's going to feature Jacob and Max G, also known as Maxtortion, on the internet. And I think that's going to do it for us for this video. So as always, I am Eugene, this is Tuesday Night Legacy, and we'll see you next time. Bye.